Hey everyone, welcome to the channel for another Escape From Tarkov video. In this one, I'll be taking a look at Interchange after the 12.4 patch rework and going over some tips to bump up your survival rate while playing on this map. Interchange is a very interesting map, and I'm sure I'm not alone when I say it's both one of my favorite maps in Escape From Tarkov and one of the most unique and detailed maps I've played in any FPS game. On the surface, Interchange is pretty simple. It's a mall, and we've all been to a mall, so it should be easy to know what to expect. The thing is though, malls seem to be built to be deliberately confusing to navigate, and Interchange is no different. There's a ton of side passages, hidden doorways, dead ends, back staircases, and general shortcuts that are important to know if you want to get around the map quickly and safely. The 12.4 patch made things even more interesting, adding new mechanics to open certain doors, a power switch for the mall, new extractions, and an alarm system that can be disabled. In this video, I'll be going over my top 5 tips for playing Interchange and making it out alive, including a mix of advice on spawn fights, positioning, navigation, PvP, and PvE tips. So with that all out of the way, let's get into it. Starting with my advice on the early stages of a raid, how to avoid getting spawn killed and make it into the mall safely. Interchange is kind of notorious for dangerous spawns, and if you're not careful in the early stages of the game, your corpse is likely to find a final resting place somewhere in the middle of the parking lot. The map is essentially a large square shape, and players generally spawn in the corners and spread out around what would be the center of our square's sides. What this means is that basically no matter where you spawn, you likely have enemy players spawning up the road a ways to both your left and right. Most spawns have some kind of entry into the mall within sight, whether that be the front doors to a major store, the parking garage, or a ramp up into the loading bay. Rather than go over each individual spawn, I'm going to split this into groups and briefly go over what you might expect when you spawn in that area, and my advice for getting out of those spawns safely. First up, we have the parking lot spawns, which are on the front entrance side of the mall. These have the longest run to the mall out of all the spawns and force you to cover the most open ground. The main spawns on this side are near the railway exfil, on the road near the camp, and in the corner near the large sign and blue fenced courtyard. From these spawns, it's good to start moving right away because you need to cover a lot of ground, but make sure to use cover and check both ways before crossing the road to see if any other players have spawned close by. Once you reach the parking lot, there are several narrow strips of trees between each lot, and these are usually safer than moving through the open areas. Once you reach the mall, you can either go in one of the front entryways or dip into the parking garage since there's plenty of entries for that. Next up, we have the power station side spawns, which cover the left side of the mall if we're looking from the front. The main spawns on this side are going to be right at the power station itself, or towards the front of the mall on the hill near the large sign. Spawning at the power station is pretty great. There's good loot here, you can turn on the power immediately, and you also have a good position to either quickly slip into the mall undetected or set yourself up for some kills. From here, I usually either flip the power switch and run up the ramp directly into the loading bay, or I sit myself in a nice little perch on the roof of the power station, which can be reached by the stairs out front, and search down the road in both directions for players who are likely going to come there. At the front spawn on this side of the mall, you can linger for a bit and cover the front to cut off other players, especially if you have a long-range weapon. Or you can just quickly head into either the front door of Idea or the parking garage for a quick entry. If you spawn in the construction site, I think your best option is to just quickly get inside and avoid being caught between other players. On the right-hand side of the mall, these spawns have easy access to the parking garage and are generally well concealed so you can reach the mall without being shot. My advice on this side is to get into the garage as soon as possible, and then watch your left-hand side for other players coming through the front of the mall as you move. If you spawn farther towards the Emercom spawn on this side, you have a very good spawn to push towards the loading bay and cut off whoever spawns in the corner. As long as you're quick and watch the road, you should be able to pick up a kill. Finally, on the back side of the mall, your main spawn points are near the Emercom checkpoint extraction and about halfway up the road near the power station. From the Emercom spawn, my advice is to get up the ramp as quick as possible and into the loading bay to avoid being pinned into your corner. Be careful of scavs, but get off the road and take the high ground as soon as you can. If you spawn up the road, this is a pretty tricky spawn, and your only real consistent option is to get into the parking garage and find a way upstairs. You can push into either the power station or Emercom spawns, but you're walking down an open road into what is probably other players, so it's not ideal. While it may be dark, dingy, and full of scavs, the underground parking garage on Interchange is a key part of the map's layout, and once you learn it, you'll start navigating the map faster, safer, and stealthier. The back side of the parking garage isn't too exciting, but the front side near the main parking lot has entrances and exits in all the right places, and you should take some time to learn it well. For this section of the video, I'm going to give you a very quick crash course on this front half of the parking garage and how you can use it to get up to different points in the center of the mall. Starting from idea, on the far left side, if you head into the garage entrance, you can find a doorway on your right, and through here is an escalator on the left leading up. This is one of my favorite ways to quickly get up into the main part of the mall if I spawn on this side, and there's another escalator just around the corner to go upstairs. Further into the garage from here, there's a fenced-in area on the left. And at the back is an escalator going up into the front of the Goshan store, almost right in the direct center of the mall. Continuing on through the garage, when the pathway opens up, you have the obvious giant hole in the floor which leads up to Kiba, Rasmussen, and the generic store. But in this same area, you can find an escalator which takes you up into a hallway near the Oli store and is a much sneakier spot to come up. This spot is great because you can go to a lot of different areas, including the top floor, and you come up at a point where you are likely to be flanking other players or coming up behind them. There is a new hole in the wall near this part of the parking garage as well that connects the back and front of the underground area. So now if you spawn on the back side, you can make your way here instead of going all the way around the outside. Finally, farther down the parking garage is another escalator on the left, which leads up into the back side of the Oli store. This is another pretty good spot to come up, since you have plenty of cover from the front of the mall and can take control of Oli from here. I could probably do a whole video on navigating this parking garage, but this is my crash course on some places to get up into the mall from the parking garage and avoid walking through the open hallways upstairs all the time. Something that changed my whole approach to Interchange and really helped my overall enjoyment and success on the map was when I started prioritizing getting upstairs as soon as possible and just avoiding the chaos of the ground floor in the early parts of the game. From upstairs, you can pick and choose your fights really well. You can move to essentially any part of the map, cover most of the loot hotspots, and have a good escape plan available if shots start coming your way. Scavs are also much less of a problem on the top floor, so all things considered, it's just the power position you want to be in on the interior of the mall. My general strategy is to get myself upstairs as fast as possible, and then start clearing out players and scavs until I feel safe enough to take the escalators down, get whatever I need done taken care of, and then get back upstairs to home base. While the central escalators are where I usually go down after I finish clearing, I almost always go up one of the stairs or escalators located on each corner of the top floor. The first is just outside of Idea near the Trend store and can be easily reached if you come up the escalator out of the parking garage that I mentioned earlier. Next, at the back of the Idea store, opposite the escalator I just mentioned, there's a staircase in the office that leads up and into a part of the top floor that's under construction. This is a really sneaky way up and you'll rarely run into players here. Another escalator to the top floor can be found outside of Oli, which leads up to the TechLight store and is a pretty well-known way to head upstairs. What is less well known, however, is that just down the hall from this escalator is another staircase that is much more hidden, and also right next to the alarm switch, which is very handy since you can switch off the alarm while heading upstairs. These offices can also be reached from Goshan if you walk past all the cash registers and into the office area. If you familiarize yourself with these ways up and down from the top floor, it becomes really easy to get where you need to go, and you can make really awesome flanks and reposition really well by dipping upstairs and coming down where nobody expects it. The power switch is a new feature in the 12.4 patch, and once it's activated, several things happen. First, alarms will begin ringing throughout the mall, which can make it hard to hear what's going on. Several doors will also become active once the power is switched on, though you still need the keys to open them up. The KILLA store, which most players know is the gun store located right in the middle of the mall, needs the power on before it can be opened. This is a pretty big change, and the store also has an extremely loud alarm that can be heard almost everywhere. However, as I mentioned briefly earlier, the alarms can be switched off in the security room, which is located in the offices connecting Oli and Goshan near the stairs I mentioned in the last tip. This disables all the alarms, including KILLA, so in my opinion, it's in your best interest to get this alarm off before you try and hit KILLA, so nobody will know exactly where you are the second that you open the door. Activating the power also lets you open a secret extraction using a unique keycard called the Object Number 11 SR keycard. Activate the power, then head upstairs to the burger spot and swipe the keycard in the men's room. Head back down past Kiba through the hole in the floor, keep to the left, and there's an open door. Flick the switch in here and you'll be extracted. While at the time of making this video the card is really expensive for a limited use extraction item, it's a very good route to swipe the card, open Kiba, go through the hole, and then extract with the loot. If the card becomes more attainable and cheaper, I think this extraction will be quite handy. The power system might not seem like a game changer, but I've already noticed it changing the flow of the match, especially in the early game where you have to choose whether you push the power station or risk the power not being switched on and quickly get into the mall. Of course, you can't talk about Interchange without talking about KILLA, the Interchange scab boss. He's practically the mascot for Tarkov, and his fearsome triple-striped helmet is truly iconic. He's a very heavily armored boss and carries either an RPK-16, AKM, or PP-19. The RPK is his most dangerous, and the other two weapons are way less scary. KILLA sort of has a double-edged reputation. On the one hand, he can sometimes be truly stupid, killing himself with grenades or just staring at you without shooting. On the other hand though, he's also an aggressive aim god with terrifying levels of confidence who will just one-tap you across the map through a half-inch gap while power sliding around a corner and cursing your family's name all at the same time. The TLDR of this section is that you never challenge KILLA to a fair fight, and as long as you can hit the first shot, you have a good chance of taking him down. KILLA has about a 35% spawn rate and generally patrols the main floor of the mall, making his way around the large hallways and searching for prey. He does get easily distracted though, so his route isn't really predictable, and he often gets kind of stuck in stores on the main floor, where he'll just wait until he's aggroed and then rush out of like a maniac. The two best strategies for taking KILLA down are to either camp the top floor and make one nice shot through his helmet with a big rifle, or get close and spray him down in the legs or chest. If you take the first option, just know that you will probably only have one shot before KILLA starts pushing you like crazy, and he will come upstairs after you. Take your shot, and if he starts shooting back, you better find a new place to be right away. As crazy as it sounds, it's actually easier to drop KILLA from up close, because all his armor makes him slow and inaccurate at close range. Plus, there's a mechanic where as long as you are putting consistent damage on him, he doesn't seem to shoot back at you. This makes close range leg meta against KILLA actually very effective, and lets you take him down with some cheaper ammo. It's almost never going to work out as planned every time because KILLA has a mind of his own and will chase you to the ends of the earth. But if you're careful and don't challenge him to a fair fight, your odds are much higher for a win. Well, that about covers it for these tips on making it out of Interchange alive. I hope you found the video helpful and can use some of this knowledge to pull off some good raids for yourself. It's one of my favorite maps, and some of the gunfights that erupt in these quiet hallways and shadowy supermarkets are among my most memorable Tarkov experiences. I'll be streaming more Escape from Tarkov on Twitch at twitch.tv/jdogthewise, and it'd be great to have you drop by the stream, so I'll leave a link for that in the description. Thanks for checking out the video. As always, feel free to leave any comments, corrections, or suggestions down below, and until next time, stay safe in Tarkov City.
Yeah.